Hello, I'm Jolene Jang. Welcome to Women Who Go For It. The mission is to empower women to take action on what's important to them. By meeting these dynamic women, we're going to learn about their best practices so we can ponder, adopt, adapt, and get inspired to make progress in our own lives. We're going to take a peek into the past and spend most of the time in the present and preparing for the future. We're going to look at their obstacles and what they've done to cope and manage them.
Today we're chatting with Neen James. She is a very energetic Aussie. She is an attention expert, which makes sense because she's always top of mind because she is bubbly and she's on social media across the board on everything new and different, always dynamic and on the leading edge. We're going to look at how she's overcome her youthful look and her voice while in male-dominated industries, and take a look at how we can be accepted when we're different, and how do you manage when somebody says you'll never make it. And we'll take a look at a lot of confidence building and how to assume the best and just get in there and just go for it, as well as many best practices. It does help that she is a productivity guru with her folding time. So we'll take a look at Neen, and she has so many ways that we can learn from her and reach her. Neen James.
Jolene. G'day.
Hello. So why is women's leadership important to you? You're always involved with many different things. Why is it important to you?
Because I grew up in a career that was non-traditional. So I was in banking, retail, and oil in Australia. So you can imagine...
In oil, you're kidding me.
Yeah, in the oil industry. And so when you think about those industries are not always women in leadership. When I was in the oil industry, there was 6 senior women at the time. So for me, I think that women have this amazing ability as leaders to bring a completely different dynamic to the board table. So I've always been passionate about it. And you know what? I got promoted when I was too young to know any different. And so I just had to work it out. And so what I looked for was great role models that I could then emulate. And that's why I think as women leaders, we have a responsibility to bring other women with us into leadership. So always know what the succession plan is for the next woman leader you want to groom.
In terms of your oil, background, I'm still a little bit shocked with that. What did you learn? Because it's male dominated, and plus you look very young, and before you looked even younger, and your voice is high. All these things. What did you learn from that you use in your thought leadership now, and also your productivity and how you organize everything?
What I learned was that you have to walk into a room and assume everyone wants to play with you. I've always done that, right? So I make an assumption that everyone wants to help me and everyone's going to have fun. So that assumption has got me into places, and I've just assumed I'm going to work it out. So at a very strategic level of conversation, I know what kind of questions I need to ask. When I walk into a room, I walk in with an opportunity and think, I belong in this space. Women leaders need to approach all of their conversations assuming they belong and having the confidence that they're in the right place at the right time. And so I believe in that. And so I do. I enter conversations confidently. I walk in, assume I belong, and I test my theory all the time. So I figure if women walked in more confidently, if they believed in the amazing value they bring to the conversation, they'd show up differently.
What are exercises then to get that confidence, or mantras to, it's probably old hat for you, but how can women out there start, I need to be more confident, how do I?
If you love TED Talks, TED, so if you go to TED.com,
I'm a big fan.
Amy Cuddy, Cuddy, did a great short thought leadership piece on body language, and she talks about, she's a professor at Harvard, she talks about your body language and power poses, and I'd highly recommend that women all watch that. I recommend it to all my women's leadership programs. Yeah, it's the way you walk into a room and hold your body, but she gives you this great little 2-minute exercise, and it's what she calls a power pose, so you can basically change your brain chemistry. And it's fascinating. So rather than give it all away, I would recommend that people watch Amy Cuddy's TED Talk. I think she's fantastic. But what I also believe is you've got to know when you walk into a conversation that you belong in that conversation. That's an internal thing. And you've also got to believe people want to meet you and that you're going to add value. And when you show up feeling those particular components, you walk in with your head a little higher, your shoulders back. And I think women especially, this is what I see with a lot of my women's leaders, is when they enter a room, they look like the bag lady. So they're carrying their laptop and their handbag and their coffee and their coat, and they look so unorganized. Even in those little pieces, People are totally assessing how you're showing up as a leader. So you need to be very streamlined, walk in very elegantly, and assume you belong.
I'm still picturing you, Neen, walking into your oil industry and having people judge you immediately.
Oh, they do.
How do you?
They do now still.
Well, of course, but then you're so confident. It's like, wow, look what she's doing and look what she's done. How do you manage that when other people are, they're thinking other things and that you don't belong there?
Let's address the elephant in the room, okay? I'm 4'10", I have a high squeaky voice, an Australian accent, and I wear fabulous shoes. So understand that's what enters the space, right? So I've got to be okay with that to make it okay for them. So I'm not going to apologize for that, but I will make fun of it. So constantly making fun of it. I get, as my role as an opening keynote speaker for large corporate conferences, I get that the voice is scary when people hear it for the first time. They're like, oh my God, she sounds like a cartoon, right? I sound like I'm 5. But if I make fun of it really quickly, the audience eventually feels okay about it, and then they forget about it. So I've got to be okay with it, and then they become okay with it, and then it is what it is, right? It's authentically me. When I first started in the professional speaking, I had so many people tell me I needed voice coaching. And people said, you will never make it with that voice in this business. Everyone told me to get voice coaching, except one person, my mentor, and he said, you know what? That's you. Just do that. And here I am, all those years later. Who'd have thought?
I'm just thinking that I hope you, in your women's leadership classes program, do you have confidence building exercises or how to shift?
We have a program called Be Amazing, and it's so important to me, and that I'm blonde. I had it tattooed on my wrist, but I believe in AH, so going, this is amazing, right? So I want to approach the day with awe and wonder. So when I work with leaders, we tell them and teach them how to have more impact and influence in the world. And there's certain things you can do, like embrace what really matters to you as a woman leader, to be able to honor your uniqueness and bring that to the table, to be able to conquer the world. And sometimes in women's world, it's like 15 minutes at a time. That's all we can get around our heads around, right? But then it's also about accelerating your engagement, because what you invest your energy and your attention in is what's going to give you the greatest results. So we have a model that we use, and we teach people through the process, and then they can assess what we call their amaze factor is. And so there's some characteristics you can build, there's some skills you can develop, and then every time you speak, you get taken more seriously. You enter a space prioritizing the people that are in the room and being able to show up as the true version of yourself.
Question for you, Neen. When you think back to your 25-year-old self, what advice would you give her?
Oh, what a great question. I would say keep doing what you're doing and understand that there is so much more for you if you step more into who you are. Because in my corporate life, there were rules. This color suit, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I am a rule breaker. It is what I do. If you give me a rule, I'm like, I think it's just a guideline. And that could be maybe being Australian or just being a brat, I don't know. But what I would say to that 25-year-old is keep breaking the rules. Keep pushing the boundaries, because I was promoted really, really young, and I didn't know I shouldn't have been in the positions I was in, right? And there's something nice about that, being that naive, right? Because I just figured I'd work it out. Say yes now, worry later. You want that project? Sure. You want that promotion? Sure. I just assumed I would get what I want. And that's another thing about me. I just make an assumption. If that's what I want, I will work out how to do it. And women leaders have to do that. Stop asking so many questions. Oh my God, how will I do that? Oh my God, with my schedule. Oh my God. Just say, you know what? I got this. And then I'll work out how to do it. Because you know what? Women have this amazing ability to not just do it themselves, but they have this network of people who want them to be exceptional. And when you tap into the network of women, what I know to be true, and I saw Madeleine Albright speak years ago, and she said, there is a special place in hell for women who don't help each other. And I think women are powerful when they help each other. So not just throw the ladder down, bring the people up with you, right? Don't get to the top and go, okay, I did it the hard way, now you do it. Women leaders have a responsibility to pull other women leaders behind them and always have succession planning in place, no matter what. I had a philosophy in my career. It was like this. It'll take me 3 months to learn the job, 6 months to master it, 9 months to find my successor, and by 12 months I'd be promoted. That was my strategy my whole corporate career.
And do you teach that now?
Yeah, 90-day cycles are powerful. I think women leaders need to look at things differently now. We're in a different time than we've ever been before. The rules are broken. Technology's changed the pace at which we work. We're living in a time where we're overwhelmed, overstressed, and overtired. There's all this information around us. You know, they say it's the information age. Totally disagree. I think it's the age of over-information. Women are overwhelmed. So sometimes we have to get back to the basics and say, this is what I want for myself, for my partnerships, for the people I share my lives with, for the people that I work with, and the people that are in my community. But it starts here.
Let's get down to like your daily schedule. How do you roll your day, or how do you start it?
So I believe in a couple of things of looking after yourself first. So for me, the first part of the day is some kind of quiet time, some sort of, I'd love to say I meditated, so not good at it. But that quietness, and what it is I have a 15-minute appointment with myself, and I identify what's my top 3 not negotiable activities for today, right? So in my 15-minute appointment with myself, I might scan my email, but I don't respond to it. I might, check through, pick up voicemails. I don't respond to them. It's really just a time to go, what is most important today? So before my head hits the pillow tonight, what's my 3 not negotiables? And then I have a super fancy way of handling it. Do you want to know what it is? I grab a Post-it note and I write on my Post-it note, today I will, and I write my 3 not negotiable activities. Now I teach my clients this, and so many of them do it now and they love it. The reason a Post-it note's so powerful is because it becomes your decision filtering system. So every time I want to waste time, I'm like, does that get me closer to these 3 things? Probably not. So what it does is forces me to get really clear and engaged. So if you're looking for a focus strategy, the simplicity of a Post-it note is great because I can carry it with me all day. And I'm constantly reminded this is my thing. See, women have this to-do list. It's a mental one. We wake up in the morning with a to-do list. We go to sleep and we're like, oh, must put that on my to-do list. We are running this mental to-do list in our head. It's so crazy, right? But getting clear in 15 minutes, what's my top 3? Now, what I then do, I work out in the morning because if I leave it to the afternoon, never going to happen. And I always eat breakfast. So I'm very diligent about making sure no matter where I am in the world that breakfast is a part of my day. Which sounds so silly, but so many women, I used to live on like shakes and protein bars, apparently not healthy. So now I actually have the discipline of sitting with a meal and enjoying it. And then I do what's called a 15-minute drive-by because social media, I could spend like hours on social media. So I do a 15-minute drive-by. What that means is while I'm sipping my coffee, it's like making time and time. I buzz by Facebook, like posts, catch up with my family in Australia. I look at LinkedIn, what's been posted. Twitter's probably one of my most favorites. What's happening on Instagram? And I buzz by all the social media sites in about 15 minutes. My coffee's finished, and then I get into my day.
Do you use a lot of timers as well?
I do. I love, literally the stopwatch on my iPhone. I use it all the time because I believe in the rule of 15 minutes because 15 minutes is how we as women conquer the world. You can work out for 15 minutes. You can make a healthy meal in 15 minutes. You can make a prospect business call in 15 minutes. You can review a proposal in 15 minutes. And I think we have to look at time differently. I don't believe in time management. I think that's out the window. As women leaders, we have to think about not managing time, but folding time, achieving twice as much in half the amount of time. And I think the key to that is 15 minutes.
You always seem to be very happy. So where does that come from? In your day, you're doing those couple of items in the morning, but then you're working the whole time. But how do you remain joyful and appear at least to be happy?
I feel that my life is pretty incredible. And so I don't have a reason to be unhappy. I have the most amazing partner that supports me in my life. I have a family that I love and adore. I have friends that I truly worship. So I feel like I have an amazing community around me that allows me to do what I do. So I feel really supported to go out and do everything. I also believe that we choose how we feel. If you really want to feel amazing, that's your choice. Every day I wake up and go, oh my God, I'm so excited about today. Because if you have a childlike awe and wonder about what's going to happen next, every transaction I'm in, every interaction with a person, I want them to feel better because we had an opportunity to connect. So it's not about me, it's actually about them. So I'm like, what's your name? What do you do? I'm so fascinated by people. And so for me, I approach that, I guess, childlike, not childish, but childlike wonder. I love to have people around me, and I am an extreme extrovert, and I married an extreme introvert. So it's this beautiful combination. So for me, I think life's pretty cool, and I feel like I'm incredibly blessed. I get to speak around the world in front of audiences. Like, who gets to do that and get paid? You know what I mean? Like, I was talking to a speaker yesterday, and we were talking about the privileges that the lifestyle of what we've chosen. And believe me, it's challenging when your flight gets cancelled and you have to drive through the night for a client. I get that that is not the happy joy, but that is what it is, right? Because those moments are rare. And when I get the opportunity to serve a room of women and watch that, like, one piece of advice has this ripple effect. Because it's not just the women in the room, it's the women that they know. And it's the women they raise, and then it's the women that they raise. So I believe as women leaders, we have a responsibility to create that ripple effect. Sharing your brilliance out into the world, you never know who that's going to impact.
What's one more thing that women should know, or some advice to them?
Something I'm quoted saying all the time is this: you don't have time to do everything, you only have time to do what matters. I believe as women who want to be more amazing, you've got to create more significant moments that matter. So what you've got to get clear about is what really matters. Because when you focus on what matters, everything else, it's just noise and clutter. When you know what really matters to you as a woman leader, you totally accelerate.
Thank you.
Thank you. What a privilege.
Now I'm like digesting and thinking of all the different tips I'm excited to share with the women out there. Thank you.
Thank you.